is really, sorry, manga is really worth reading.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good. We were at 40 at some point, were we not?
Yes, over here.
40? 40, thank you. Do I hear 45?
45.
45.
60.
60.
He wants it.
60 once.
If he wants one of your main Pokemon.
65.
Yep.
65 going once. 65 going twice.
I'll throw you
62.
Fuck you. 65.
70.
Too late. Sorry, man.
You tried. He's looking for those volumes.
Oh, you get over it.
Yeah, I'm not pointing the camera over there.
That's fine.
No, just 'cause once they move out, then we'll...
How do they know that it's data sheets? They don't.
Delivered to me that pen.
Now they will.
Oh, games.
Oh no, they've all seen it. Don't worry about me. Hey, Nevershin, here's your bondage shit, yeah.
Camera's rolling again, Tyler.
Scribble-Lots, DS. Wait, let me check.
Yeah.
Scribble-Lots, there's no semen stains or anything. Batman! Okay. Or Spider-Man. Who can you summon? Is it Batman or Spider-Man?
It's Batman, I think.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man solves all problems. So once you fight Spider-Man, you're fighting Godzilla, Spider-Man. There's the fire, Spider-Man. There's a spider, Spider-Man. There's a man, wait, Spider-Man.
Wait.
Okay, so $10 for Scribble-Lots. 20. 30. 30 going once. 30 going twice. Sold for 30. Thank you. Let's give her a hand, folks. And just to reiterate, this is the charity part of the auction. So if you've got extra money you just don't want anymore because it's dirty or something, yeah, just feel free to toss it out here because it is all going to the distress center. But if you also want to hold your cash back and see what else we're offering for charity, a lot of shit.
Definitely advertise more directly.
And we've already raised $1,000.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there was the 1 year with the Fluttershy picture.
And then there was a Stefan Aurora pick.
And the which?
Stefan Aurora pick.
And then the year after that, there was the Stefan Aurora pick. Yeah, and there's more artwork this year. So, I mean, if you feel the need to hold cash back for those big ticket items. But if you need to hold cash back for the big ticket items, you're clearly doing it wrong. You need to come to Otafest with about $30,000.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we had a good strong start, so I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Good idea. So we've sent Nevershin off, but we have what I am calling Nevershin snacks. Nevershin brought these snacks from Japan as a gift to us.
Nice.
They are delicious. So Nevershin, he arrived and we were like, oh, great Nevershin. We want to make sure you're happy. So what kind of food do you like? He's like, Niku, juicy meat. And I was like, is that a metaphor for women? Because technically we call them escorts and we can't pay them for sex, but if you pay them to hang out for 2 hours and a shower afterwards, I mean, it's illegal, so we're not gonna, but they can, I mean, it's a free world, right? So, but he was like, no, I like to eat meat. So we got him plenty of meat and he's enjoyed that. And I said, okay, so what do you want for snacks? Because we have guests that are like, oh, I'm allergic to gluten, dairy, paleo bullshit. Well, Yumi actually, she just left, but she's allergic to like tomatoes and cheese and all the good things in life. I feel so sorry for her.
Her neighboring countries.
Yeah. She lives next to France and she's allergic to cheese, and I'm like, it's like living next to America and being allergic to freedom. But it's okay, we live in Canada, so if you break out in hives, go get it checked out for free. Seriously, I hang out on like fitness weightlifting boards, and they're like, oh, you're Canadian. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, so I dropped the weight on my foot and my toe. I haven't been able to feel my toe in 3 days. And I'm like, go see a fucking doctor. And Americans are like, well, no. And I'm like,
Why not?
and they're like, well, if there's nothing wrong with it, if it'll fix itself, right? it'll cost me $400 to find that out. And I'm like, okay, you dropped a 20-pound weight on your toe and you can't feel it. If you're lucky, you dislocated something and you've got a pinched nerve. Otherwise, it's necrosis. They're like, oh shit, thank you for letting me know. I'll go see a doctor. And I'm like, I am not! I am not! Like, my sister's a doctor. I ask her occasionally about shit, but I am not a dispenser of medical advice just because I live in a socialist utopia. Doctor, and like the first episode of Canadian Breaking Bad is treatment starts Monday, right? Anyways, so back to this. So we asked Navashin, what do you want to snack on? And he's like, junk food. And we're like, we're Canada, yeah, we can do that, right? So I go to Walmart, and I come back from Walmart, and I'm like, okay, Navashin, here you go. Good, that'll do me 4 days. And so, you know those, I'm sure 12 packs, you know, the long boxes of Coke?
Yep.
So I buy 2 of those. I'm like, yeah, this will do. Right? Morning of the second day, he's like, do you have any more Coke? I'm both terrified and impressed. And yes, it's reasonably inexpensive. Here's another 12 and I'll get you some more later.
Aren't you kind of bought cases of Jolts?
Yeah, you remember that story, huh?
Yep.
Short version of that story, I used, like 10 years ago, I lived in Northeast Calgary, and house full of geeks, right? Like 6 of us rented a house together, and we all drank Jolt, a lot of Jolt. Like I went through, personally, they sell Jolt like individual cans, but then they would ship the cans of Jolt in boxes of 12, and we found this one 7-Eleven, and we just walk into the 7-Eleven and we'd say, can we go, thank you, and we go in the back and get the little pallet wheel jack thingy and just put 6 or 4 or 5 boxes on and wheel it out in front, wheel it out to our car, unload it, come back in, pay for it, and leave. And they were used to us doing that. And then one week, because we gamed, right? So Friday night, yeah, time to game! And, you know, I'm gonna paladin my archer with a D6! And, you know, like Sunday morning, we'd be like, oh God, I can't feel my eyes! And then we'd sleep like 35 hours and wake up on Monday and go to class or work for those suckers who actually had a job. And then one day we came to the 7-Eleven and they're like, no, we're out. And we're like, oh, okay. Go to the next 7-Eleven. No, we're out. Go to the third 7-Eleven. We knew this one corner store, so we go into, this wasn't a 7-Eleven, it was like it was a private, you know, it was like, not to be racist, but you know how those stories end, right? Yeah. So it was an independent corner store run by a gentleman of Middle Eastern descent. Surprisingly. Great dude though, like he got us our shit, and by shit I mean Joel. And we're like we may have paid for a tuition of his kid's college education. So we're like, dude, do you have any Joel? And he's like, no, sorry. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? He's like, my distributor's out. And we're like, what do you mean your distributor? He's like, so apparently Calgary is sectioned off into 4 quadrants basically for like supplies for the convenience stores, right? So like, you know, the wet beverages and Pepsi and Coke and all that sort of shit. And they have distribution hubs. And so he'd actually, because he knew we were coming and there was no Jolt, so he called up and you know, went up the chain. So what happened was the distributor for Northeast Calgary orders once every 3 months.
Holy shit.
Wow.
And our purchasing patterns had not been factored into the equation. And so their 3-month supply ran out in a month. Or, well, their 3-month supply ran out in like 2 months. And they were like, well, it'll be another month before we can get anything. But we've been doing this for a while, right? Like 6 or 8 months. We're like, well, if they're ordering every 3 months, shouldn't they know? And they're like, yeah, okay, but the problem is each of those quadrants orders from the distribution center for like Calgary and Southern Alberta. They only order every 6 to 8 months.
Yikes.
And our purchasing patterns had not factored into their reorder. So what had happened was, it wasn't that Southern Alberta was out, technically, because if we'd driven to Lethbridge, there would have been Jolt. The problem was that for the past 9 months or so, we've been buying all the Jolt in the world, So those convenience stores had been buying all the jolt that they could get from the Northeast distribution, who in turn would basically like, oh, well, based on our buying patterns, we need to order like 5 times as much jolt. So they ordered 5 times as much jolt from the distributor for Southern Alberta, or Calgary, whatever the area was. And they did that 9 months in a row. And what happened was the distributor for Calgary was like, yeah, we're not ordering anymore for 6 months. We're out. You just drank Southern Alberta's entire
Well then.
And we were like, so what you're telling us is that we need to road trip to like Lloyd and get, and he's like, well, you could drink Monster. So we beat him to death.